Hello, everybody, and welcome to another week of Tryhard Tuesdays, where we learn to game a little harder. I am your host, the Grand Wazoo, here with my original co-host, Mr. Blue. Good to have you back, Mr. Blue.
Good to be back. Good to be back. I am home alone, just me and the new dog, and it's nice. The Bachelor lifestyle has returned, so I'm ready for some Dota.
That quick, huh? Your wife's gone for like a day, and you just snap right back into it.
Yeah, it's a little depressing how quickly that comes back. Like, I have been eating out basically every possible meal. I've been, like, on the computer way more than I probably should. I've been passing out at weird hours. I've basically turned back into, like, a teenage boy.
She's going to come back and you're going to be, like, dead on the couch or something. Netflix just running.
Atrophied legs, just, yeah.
McDonald's bags all around you.
I calibrated.
We can't live without them, really, but they can live without us, and that's the sad reality. But it's good to have you back. Like I said, we were kind of at a loss for your strategic analysis, so thanks for returning. Thanks for coming back to us. You found us metaphorically dead on the couch with Netflix running, so thanks for returning.
Thanks for crawling your way back.
They always come back. Come crawling back. We're going to return to our regular strategic analysis and discuss another show we kind of had in the pipeline, and that's the jungle. Looking at the jungle as a resource, and I think a lot of the jungle is either people don't know how to efficiently farm it, or they don't really know where they're supposed to be when, or, and a whole thing, like you brought this up on the show before, I think, or maybe it was just in one of our games, that people think that it's always a good thing to stack, always a good thing to be running those stacks and always tell the carry to farm them without really understanding the power levels of the hero they're telling to farm them. And sometimes they just don't even have a way to farm it. And sometimes it's just not strategically advantageous to set up a stack when you don't have control of your jungle. So we're going to go into warding it, we're going to go into controlling it, we're going to go into farming it, and we're kind of going to see where that takes us.
Yeah, pretty much. I have nothing to add at this moment as far as the jungle agenda is concerned. You pretty much covered a lot of what we wanted to talk about. And just as a note for others, we can include in the show notes a link to the Dota 2 Gamepedia, which has the timings for each of the stacks, which is actually a really nice resource. I didn't know it existed until we did a little research before the show, but it shows the exact time to the second where you should start stacking, which is really cool.
There's a lot of mysticality, at least there was for me, surrounding stacks and stuff. You just kind of watched people do it. At least for me, for the first several hundred hours, I didn't even understand it at all. It was just like something really good players did when they needed to eke out an edge. And for me, it was just one of those things. I could hardly farm the creeps in the lane, so it was the last thing I was worrying about. And so we're kind of, for the first part, going to discuss when you should be farming that, how you do it efficiently, and where you should be doing it, I think, is mainly important. Because I see a lot of people do it at my skill level when they shouldn't. Like watching a maiden go into the jungle and just start like stacking a bunch of hard camps when you have a jungler. And then your jungler can't maybe take it for a while, and then it's just a dead camp for a while. And you might have that extra stack, but it's a dead camp for a while if you can't take it, or you're going to get nuked in the first couple minutes. And then those other minutes as they tick by, they don't get used. So it's just wasted farm in a sense when you need to be kind of balancing the gold you're getting versus the attack power in that camp. So,
yeah, it makes for a liability almost too when you're, like you said, when you're adding up all those stacks. But if there's, I don't know, let's say a Spirit Breaker or someone on the enemy team who's already getting aggressive on your carry, then maybe you don't want to be spending all your time doing that. Maybe you just want to do a little more babysitting, a little more zoning of the enemy. And this is obviously just from the support perspective, from minutes 0 to 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever. But you're absolutely right. It's something that people just kind of blindly do. Like, okay, game has started. 53 seconds in, I'm just going to stack the easy camp, and then I'll do a pull on it. And you just kind of go through these mental exercises that you just seem to want to do every game. But it's not necessarily the best idea to just right out of the gate think that that's the kind of mental rep you should do, because it all depends on the lane. If you're going up against an aggro tri lane, maybe doing those like heavy pulls, like the double pulls against an aggro tri lane, might not be the best idea, because then your carries out, just with his, what's the term, with his ass in the air, with his, I'm bad about those terms.
Dick in his hand?
Dick in his hand.
With his quelling blade in his hand?
Sure, let's say quelling in his hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing to quell.
That's an interesting point that really will segue us into the rest of the conversation. Is the whole entire idea of stacking and pulling isn't something you should necessarily be doing all the time, and especially not early, because you have to take into several factors. You have to take into a factor if like your carry for one can even get the last hits, or if he can even tank the creep damage. And if they take advantage of that very well, sometimes you can just straight out kill a carry when someone double stacks and then pulls immediately, because there's no wave, and then you can just run in when he's tanking the damage, and then the creeps therefore are taking the tower damage, and then you just kill the guy right off the bat. And then you just get like GG noob carry from your support, and you're like, what can I do? You just soak EXP sometimes because you can't get the last hits without dying, and therefore, like, why aren't you just soaking EXP in the safety of the lane is what it comes down to. You're right there. There's a thought process. It's not something that it's just always better to be done, which is interesting because you go through in skill levels from like, I don't know, 1.5 to 2.5k where people hardly ever stack, and then you hit a level where everyone stacks just every time they possibly can at points. And it's just like, there's no real understanding of when you should or shouldn't. It's just that it should be done.
They've been taking those purge gamers videos a little too literally when he shows how to do it and stuff like that. It's like, oh, I didn't even know you could do that. Wait, why wouldn't everyone do that? And for me, it was actually, I remember when I started the game, I thought the opposite. Like, why would I make it even harder to kill that camp? Why don't I just kill it the one time and then have it where it respawns right after that? But then you're spending, obviously the reason being, then you're spending a lot more time trying to kill a camp. Whereas if you have any kind of ability to take it quickly, you can take it in 15 seconds, twice the number of creeps that would normally take you still 15 seconds. So it is kind of a weird, like, the evolution of learning not just how to stack, but the why of why I'm stacking, and the conditions for when that's a good idea. It changes. It should change every game for you. It should be different in each game, because sometimes you actually should go for, let's just say your mid is a Shadow Fiend, then stack that shit up, because even if he gets ganked a couple times, he could still come back by just shadow raising those stacks 3, 4, 5 times, and all of a sudden he's back on par with the GPM of the other mid.
Yeah, and then you have kind of like a soul zoo that you can just go in when you die and just farm up all those souls, so you're back to the better damage.
A soul zoo.
Yeah, the grand soul zoo, dude.
They're locked in their jungle prisms, just waiting for you to just throw shit at them.
He can clear them. There's definitely exceptions, like a Magnus is a good exception. Those type of mids that can kind of just run in and like cleave away. There are all sorts of exceptions, and jungle heroes as well. But even some of the best jungle heroes in the game can't just go in and tank some jungle stacks. And that's what I think is really interesting that people don't understand, is you'll run in and you'll like have a centaur camp, which kind of sucks to clear anyway with some jungle heroes in the beginning.
Yeah.
And then someone will stack it, and then you'll have like the Ursas as well. And you'll just get like clapped and stunned, and like it's impossible to clear sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. That's another really good point. I was actually watching an Ursa video. I think it was a Bren Dota Ursa guide, and he was talking. He's like, don't ever stack camps if you're gonna like be a solo, like a jungling hero. Like, you really don't want to stack the camps as an Ursa, because you're so single target centric, and at the early levels you actually cannot fight into that. It basically prohibits you from taking that camp for the next 6-7 minutes at least,
Yeah, it just becomes too much. It's a waste of resources, which is how we're going to look at the jungle, I mean, in a literal sense, when it comes to vision, as well as, of course, the creeps in the jungle. They're a resource, And one thing about stacking and all of that in the jungle is it's probably among the least intuitive areas of the game. You know, there's no one telling you as a new player that you can do that. It's not something that's super intuitive that you can go, I should pull this out, and then one will spawn over it, and then there'll be a bunch of guys crammed in there. There's just nothing. There's nothing quite like it in the game from an intuitive point of view that leads one to believe that that's what they should be doing.
And the invisible boxes for like, oh, if I pull it to the left, it's easier than if I pull it up.
Yeah,
you know,
it's just
like
so
as the Dire
weird.
Ancients, for example. It's just like, how would you know that if you didn't already know that?
Yeah, it's
how
just
would you,
one
how
of
would
those
you
things.
learn that? You just basically have to just do trial and error and assume you actually. But then when you're doing it, you're like, oh wait, maybe the timing was off. Maybe I should have done it earlier. But in reality, it was just that you had to pull up or left or straight down, and just it is a really difficult part of the game that isn't very obvious, and I don't think it's something that a lot of other MOBAs have. They don't really have this kind of mechanic where stacking is of a high value, or I don't even know if it's possible. I'm a ignorant to a lot of other MOBAs. I don't think Smite has this mechanic. I'm pretty sure League does not either. It's just it will be there, and it'll just stay there until you kill it, and stuff like that. So it is an odd mechanic, but it's a very important one and a very powerful one, especially if if you can be a jungler hero. If you can stack for your mid, if you can be a support who's able to stack efficiently, even if you're a carry, Helm of the Dominator to stack ancient stuff like that. It's an ability that pretty much every role can make use of. I mean, I completely forgot to say it. My lane, the off lane, Beastmaster. That's one of the reasons that people consider Beastmaster a viable off laner, is that he can easily stack using axes and or his boar, and then take those stacks with the wild axes once that's leveled up a little bit.
Just take that side large camp, cut a hole in the tree, or you don't even have to with axes or the boar. You just shoot it and then it comes through. But that's interesting.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So even if you're not getting a lot of XP in the lane, you at least have a catch-up mechanism where you can just throw out the axes on a 4 or 5 stacked ancients, and that's like 2 levels right there.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Depending on the point in the game, and but along with that, like we've talked about, is we've mentioned one instance where it's not such a good idea in that you're as a support, you're leaving your carry out to dry. That's what I was thinking. Out to dry, not out with his ass in the air. Jesus. Out to dry, a much more PC term. The other being that you're abandoning lane, and B, you're giving away almost that you are stacking. And so if someone is quick about that, someone realizes that, they will ward that stack. They will ward it to either see if you're taking it, or they will block it so that you can't stack it anymore. And that's something that moves probably once you hit. I hate to make these measurements because I'm never certain, but I've seen it happen in a 2.5K game and up. I have not seen it happen below that point, but it very well may happen when some guys just like all about them stacks, like all about stealing them and stuff like that. But it is something that comes up, and it's something you should be aware of. That's why everyone bemoaned the Necrophos Ancients, because it's like, oh, Necro's not in lane. Well, we all know where he's gonna go,
And we all know that we can go by and, if he's tanking too much ancient damage, he's dead really super fucking quick because the guy doesn't know how to do it.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh, they'll all probably be low in about 2 or 3 minutes, and then we're just gonna show up, bop him on the head, and take his stack.
Yeah, and that's something that we'll get into a little later with ward positioning and stuff on the inverse, because there's a lot of camps that you can just ward right off the bat. And if you have one blocked, then you can see kind of the health of the guys he runs by. Or if you have a good cliff ward or something like that, you can see them farming a good number of these camps. So we'll talk about that a little later, because, if you do have a Shadow Fiend or something and you ward those positions, you're capable of going by when he's weak. So we will talk about that a little later on in the show when we talk about ward positioning, because I think that's a really good facet of that discussion. But as for safe lane, we're going to talk from the Radiant perspective, I think, in terms of the Radiant jungle. Assume that the viewer is on the Radiant side, just for simplicity's sake. It's hard without having like a map I can like doodle on, like a sports map or something, like if it's football or something.
Yeah.
Because like a big chunk of this, guys, is the spawn boxes. I mean, that's just the biggest thing, and it's just repetition, really, because there's so many times where you'll stack a camp at just like maybe 1 second too late, or you'll think you're outside of the spawn box and you're not. Like that pull camp Radiant side is just so frustrating because it feels like the box goes out a little bit longer than you think it should. It's closer to the trees, so you can just like think you're out of it and you're not out of it. So I think the biggest point that I would make is just find out where the spawn boxes are. We'll link that in the show description, and just make sure you're clear of them on the minute.
Yeah, I think that covers the mechanics of it that we wanted to talk about at that point,
Definitely.
right? Because there's other places that have a visual guide to doing that. I believe we actually .p did a little video on it. I believe Roland and a couple others did. Though the problem again with Dota is that it's constantly changing. So I believe those spawn boxes changed maybe a year ago or something like that. And Gorgon actually did an article on the new spawn changes a while back as well, a very noteworthy one, one that even pros use. So it's something that at all levels of Dota, whether you're a 1K player or an 8K player, or you're playing in the Nanyang Championships, you have to know the frames at which you can pull. The directions you should be able to pull, the timings and all of that. So it's just a generally useful mechanic to learn. So we will definitely link to that. But we talked a lot about stacking and pulling from the support perspective. Let's talk about jungle heroes, like heroes that you consider to be extremely good jungle heroes, not just because of their ability to take stacks, but maybe because of their ability to rotate and to do other things outside of jungling, because there's plenty of heroes who will try to jungle and maybe they probably shouldn't.
Yeah, there's a lot actually. At least you see it a lot, and I think people are drawn to the jungle because they're like, look, I can just go kill NPCs for an hour and
PvE
win.
baby.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of heroes aren't suited for it. I think
I'm looking at you, Roland.
Yeah, Roland. I've been calling him that lately. No D, just like a noob or something. I think the biggest, baddest example right now in this meta is probably Doom. Even though he's ran more often off lane, I think he's a good example of what the jungle is for a lot of players, or heroes, I mean. And that's not... It's not always something you should just do right off the bat, but it's an awesome fallback plan. And his abilities synergize really well with the jungle because he can devour and Scorched Earth. It keeps him alive and burns the creeps down. And, he's just one of those guys that if he's getting his shit kicked in and off lane, he can just rotate right down to jungle and try to catch up a bit.
And that's a free lane for someone who has no interest in contesting it and just sitting there trying to get as much XP as possible. That's something we did in an 82L game a couple of games ago. It wasn't. I don't think it was against the. I don't think it was against the Devils, but it was the series before that where I think I played Doom for the first time in like 4 or 5 months. And then I got like the first 4 or 5 levels, and then I'm like, all right, I'm not going to be able to contest this lane a lot. Cyphus he was Winter Wyvern. Just come on down and sap XP till you get level 6. I'll hit level 6 just jungling because I can afford to do that because I'm level 4 or 5 now. I have a decent amount of Scorched Earth. I have Devour. I have ways to take, jungle camps. Maybe not stacks of them yet, but I have ways to take camps and do something about that and pick up a useful ability. And Doom is another good example in that it's not necessarily your jungle that you have to be taking advantage of. It could be just going to that. If we're going to talk the Radiant carry lane, if you're on the Dire off lane as Doom, going over to one of those medium camps or large camps and picking up a creep ability right away, right?
Yeah, just grabbing one, getting out,
Yep. There's some free XP right there. That's a big creep for you. That's just XP that you normally would not have had, and you get more value out of it early on the experience. Than you do if you just devoured a regular creep in the lane.
Exactly, and this would be a good time to discuss creep lane equilibrium and farming the jungle. Usually, you can push it up if you're, say, the Dire off lane in this situation against a Radiant safe lane. You push that up until their creeps are gone, and then as you head back like you would, you just dip into the jungle and take a creep and then back out, you know? So they don't see you. I see a lot of players, I think, like, just walk off into the jungle while their creeps, like, the creeps are by the side shop.
Like,
and
right in front of the enemy.
Yeah,
like, I'm going to go
like,
jungle now. If you want to kill me, come here.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to be over here, and, like, you go over there and he's still attacking, like, some creeps. And that's a way you die, like, every time, pretty much. If the team's competent, they'll just they'll know exactly where you are. The point is to not reveal too much information in situations like that. It's to duck out real quick, grab it, and get out. And you can get away with farming a little more sometimes if they're, like, pinned down behind the tower or they pulled or something. But it's usually a good idea, like, with Doom at least, and other heroes like that. Just duck in, farm a little bit, and then get out, you know?
Yeah, Nature's Prophet is another good example. Is if you're not getting a lot in the lane, you can see if you can steal a couple of jungle creeps on their side of the river, and that's farm that never would have gone to your carries or never would have been stacked by your supports. That is just being taken away from their side of the map. That's drawing from their resource. But another point that you mentioned that I really like is, making sure that it's not obvious you're going over to that. To those camps. But on the other side, if you're going up against a Doom, maybe a lane ward is more useful than that typical river ward, because then you see, or maybe putting 2 wards there so that you have one in the lane, so you know when he's trying to leave to go to the jungle, when the pull is done, and another one to spot the rune, because that makes him extremely susceptible. Then he really can't do much. If you have a lane ward and you see exactly where he's going, that can be the time for you and your tri lane to punish him.
Yeah, you see that warding combo a lot, where you have the one up by the steps by the rune, and then you'll have one by the trees, by the stairs, by the tower on the off lane, kind of. Yeah. But before the tower, so you can see them coming into the jungle from that way, or going out from that way, or coming in from the other side. And that's
you can
really
see
clever
rotations
for that
too.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really good for heroes like that, because it's not so much a game of I'm going to go in and I'm going to farm my Blink Dagger by 12 minutes or whatever. It's an incremental game where you go in, boom, devour, you're out. Or if your natures, you summon the trees or you tree ring and then hurry and clear a camp and you back out or teleport out or something. It's not something that you're in there for long, but it's a way you can kind of etch out a small advantage against a dual lane as a solo offlaner that I really like, that you see a ton at the pro level.
Yeah, definitely. There's also we're talking a lot about Doom just because he's just so in.
He embodies
the pub meta and the pro meta, and he embodies a lot of that as well. There's other good examples like Nature's Prophet. Others examples like Legion Commander, who these aren't heroes you may want. These are heroes you may not want to jungle at level 1, but they're heroes you want to jungle maybe level 4 or 5, because then you can actually take these the jungle a little quicker than you normally would. So, looking at those heroes, how do you know when it's time to go? I'm just taking it from an offlaner perspective. Like, how do you know when it's like, all right, I've gotten pretty much the most I can out of this lane without being inefficient? It's time for me to go to the jungle. Time for me to hit up that jungle.
We've talked about kind of having that mental checklist of kind of having that binary 1 and 0 going on in your head of, can I do this? No. Then can I do this? Yes. I kind of look at it with Doom as like, how safe am I? Am I really unsafe? If I'm really unsafe, can I make myself... am I going to be equally safe dipping into the jungle and taking this? Are there heroes missing on the map that will maybe come and wreck my face? Or can I just go in and grab a creep? And also, you should be looking at your other ability cooldowns. Like, if you have a Scorched or something, like, you can get out most of the time if you just dip in. Even if they do find you, you can just run away. So
yeah, that shit's ridiculous.
It is.
They nerfed it a little bit.
It's overpowered. Oh, did they?
Yeah, they nerfed it a little bit with 6.85B that just came out, but I don't know that it's enough. They did change Aghanim Scepter, so it wasn't as good, but it's I think it was a good try to kind of keep that ability really, really good, which it is, but also balance a little more. Anyways, I I don't want to go crazy on, like, I don't want this to be the Doom podcast, but
Yeah,
it is a
definitely
good
not.
example of a hero.
To quote Ursi, like, what a great idea for a fucking hero. He wasn't being serious, of course.
Yeah.
But it's like, that's how I kind of feel about him. He's like someone took everything that could annoy you about Dota and just put it into one dude. Because he is that, he's so fucking obnoxious. But he does embody that off-laner taking advantage of the jungle really well. And he also is great for, your own jungle because you should be looking at your own jungle as a resource. And if there's no one in there and you're getting your shit kicked in your own lane, then you should be looking at that as a way that you can go and catch up and not just calling GG at 10 minutes or 11 minutes or whatever. You should be looking at that as like, okay, I can dip back into here and it's not going to be as good as if I'm getting that solo lane farm at this point, but it will still be something. And looking at that incremental advantage is, I think, all of what the jungle's about, really, in a nutshell.
Yeah, and there's a few other heroes that can really go into that offlane role and then move into the jungle very well. You have your Nature's Prophet, it's your Axe. Axe is a very popular one
Yeah.
where
Legion.
he'll go take some stacks. Bloodseeker after a few levels could do that. You got Ursa also if you play like offlane Ursa, which I think is interesting. It's one that you might have to dual lane, but he's just like such a hero that has. He's a hero that has such kill potential at levels, like 4 and 5 that is really interesting to me. I've even been seeing Enchantress off lane, and then moving into the jungle after she hits levels maybe 4, 5, 6 if she's not getting enough out of the lane. And then there's some others who can go to the jungle, maybe aren't as obvious, but ones like Broodmother moving to the off lane, or when you're in the off lane moving to the jungle after a certain amount of time, just taking over their jungle and making it your home and eating up that, like we've said, eating up that resource that normally would go to them. It's turning a net gain for them into a net gain for you, which is doubly effective.
You see Broodmothers sometimes, pro teams, it wasn't in Nanyang because Brood was hardly picked, but in another previous tournament, the Brood ran in the safe lane, and then she just used the spiders to go and farm camps while she was just sitting there soaking experience otherwise. And that was pretty cool to see. Can't really stack if you have the webs down or anything, but it was still really interesting to see that she was being used as a way to counter their offlane and then still taking advantage of the jungle. Pros are really great at that, guys. I'm sure that's not a spoiler alert or anything. Like any hero that goes down there typically is they're taking advantage of the jungle in a pretty intelligent way. They're pushing the lane out, and then when it's pushed out, they know when to go farm it. And that's what I want to transition to now, is kind of just talking about when the appropriate time is to farm, and not just in an offlane context. Now, I want to bring it back to the Radiant side. We're assuming we're on the safe lane. When is a carry, do you think, is a good time to start farming the jungle? When do you think is a good time to start stacking? I mean, we've kind of talked about the times where it's not a good time, but let's say you're with a hero that doesn't have cleave, but can still tank some stacks maybe after 5 minutes. Like, when do you start stacking that? And when do you feel that you are wasting things?
I knew you'd do it without doing it, but Lycan, that's a good example.
Yeah.
That's a guy who all he needs is a nice quelling blade, perhaps a morbid mask for some lifesteal, and he is golden. He can give his lane. The beauty of heroes like that is that he can give his lane to his support, and that support can get way more gold than he normally would if if say for example the carry were a Spectre. A guy who let's just compare those two side by side. A Lycan has the wolves. He has, let's assume, a Quelling Blade. He's a very good base attack damage. He's very good strength gain, so he's already naturally tanky. He's probably going to carry a stout shield. Ring of Protection, he naturally builds into Vlad's, so he's already very tanky. He is already building towards lifesteal. He has other ways to do damage to the creeps with the wolves. Those wolves benefit from him being next to them, so they do extra damage. So he's a very obvious guy who can transition into taking jungle stacks very, very quickly at very early levels. So let's just say even levels 5 or 6, he could probably start doing that, right? I mean,
even earlier maybe.
You're Lycan's Fenneker, man. Like, how do you feel about what are the Lycans? and or Sven timings for you.
Lycan, I mean, the reason I like him is he can really be laned anywhere. With the jungle, it's even better because you just run out. You really try to secure that early bounty rune because that helps so much as being a jungler if you're jungling. But in lane, I mean, you can always just be running your wolves out after they hit level 3 or 4 and just farming that easy camp just with the wolves alone. And so it's kind of like that broodmother idea we talked about earlier, where you can be gathering gold in multiple places at once. And so you're last hitting in lane while those wolves are attacking the small creeps. And then once you push the lane out and maybe even the tower, you just throw down a ward right in your jungle to give yourself some protective vision, and then you just go at it in the jungle. And I mean, there's a reason these heroes like Anti-Mage and all these other high farm heroes are good. And it's not because they just get a Battle Fury and wreck the lane and just split push lanes. Like, they are good for that reason. But it's also good because they can move very quickly between jungle camps and just farm them out so quick. And you're not wasting any resources by that time. With Lycan, it's like you hit level 8 and you can Rosh efficiently. You can get up some vision. You can push out a tower, and all of a sudden you have an entire jungle that you can just do whatever you want with. And that's why he's super valuable in ways. I mean, I don't think he's definitely a situational hero when it comes to any high level play, but
An organized play, I'd say,
Yeah,
is
exactly.
where he might struggle because the team realizes his strengths and doesn't kind of, they don't go into their own little mental reps in their own little vacuum of, oh, what item do I need next? Oh, shit. Look at this Lycan. All of a sudden, he's taking our tier 3. What the hell happened there? Why didn't, ping, 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 ping. Who the hell was supposed to protect that? Yada, yada. If you're up against, like, in an official match or even an amateur Dota League match, I mean, we've found that you can't always get
We see
away
it all
with
the
those
time.
same kind of things where you could be maybe a little greedier and take the tier 1 and immediately go for tier 2. Maybe you wouldn't get away with that. But if we're talking in the pubs, there's a lot of times where you could get away with that, especially at the lower levels, basically I would say sub 4K. You could probably get away with doing that a lot of the time.
you just it's a different. There are different priorities when you're playing against an organized team or not. I feel like, especially with the jungle, because good teams will say, okay, they have a Lycan around, like, and maybe someone on their team even plays a Lycan, so they'll be
Yep.
able to say, well, usually around this time it looks like he's jungling. I'm gonna go just do a run through the jungle. A couple of us are. We're gonna smoke gank through, and you'll catch him probably 90% of the time if you smoke gank at the right time, like around 4 or 5 minutes, and it'll be weak. And like maybe you'll catch him, or maybe he'll barely be walking back and he'll get lucky. But those little things like that, and like just paying attention to those power levels, as we've discussed in other casts, I mean, that makes or breaks a game in a lot of cases with organized teams, because they're checking for those times where a hero looks weak and they're taking advantage of it. And if you have a little lapse in vision or whatever, then even better. Like I mean, it doesn't really matter with smoke, but sometimes like you can see people come in otherwise if they're not smoked.
And you can use that kind of process of elimination. It's like, I see 3 heroes on the map. Okay, their support's missing, and their carry, let's say their anti-mage. I just saw him get a Battle Fury. Well, chances are he's probably farming in the jungle because that's the most efficient place for him to do it. Bam, 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 Battle Fury down, one creep wave, blink to the next, or one creep stack, move to the next jungle stack. Bam, 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 move to the next jungle stack. And, before he gets his Manta style is when he's very vulnerable. And that's why people get Vlads on him, because they want to keep that effective HP at a very high level. So Vlad's kind of is a good example for a lot of heroes, and just lifesteal in general for those carries. Is if I have lifesteal as a carry, there's a good chance that by the time I can afford that, I'll be strong enough to take the jungle. Maybe not jungle stacks, or maybe not ancient stacks yet, but I will be strong enough to at least go into the jungle, kill the creep wave, and not have to go back to base, right?
And you'll have
I
some
think-
staying power, which is very important for anyone who's going to be spending a good amount of time in the jungle. It's about efficiency, and the reason creep waves are good to go and be in is because you don't have to take creep damage. Ideally you don't want to be. When the lane gets pulled, sure, you'll take a bit, but then typically you'll have the foresight to pick up a stout or something, a stout shield. But with the jungle, you got to be looking at the damage you can do, and like you said, with a hero like Ursa, I mean, he's a single target. So you don't want to have like a bunch of shit attacking you. You want to have the morbid mask, as he's prone to get, and then you want to be able to clear those stacks quickly by the time you can get out of the camp so it can respawn. And then you can just kind of have your farm pattern, and you can be clearing them as you move along and hopefully not wasting as much farm. But staying power is important. Attack power, can you clear stacks quickly? And, mobility, so you can't get ganked. I'd say those are the three large factors that go into being able to have good staying power in the jungle. But there are definitely other factors that go into it. You get away with a lot more in like pubs than you ever will with an organized team. We definitely see that even at our entry bracket or whatever. It's like those teams, like when we play anti-mage, it's like you can expect a smoke gank or two, and even then they're probably not doing it as much as they should be because I'm just in there like auto farming away, and then they come in with 3 guys and I'm dead. It's just that it's that quick, And it's like I can't really do anything about it. I'm trying to blink, but I'm dead pretty much every time. So like when you look at those power levels of those junglers, that's how you shut them down, on the inverse of this argument. But how you stay alive is just being able to properly assess damage, having that forward ward up, and really making sure you have the lifesteal. I think you really hit the nail on the head on that. You need some sort of staying power.
Yeah, and looking at other heroes that can take stacks quickly, we talked about Anti-Mage and Lycan. Sven is another good one with the cleave ability, and Warcry, the extra armor that it grants, is really key against those ancient stacks, which are getting harder and harder to deal with the extra auras they've been adding.
Yeah.
Then they added an aura to the dragon where he has more armor. They added that health aura a little while ago to the big golem creep, right? It adds like 15% effective HP or something. Not effective, just total HP to all the heroes in the stack. So they've been trying to make it a little harder to take stacks of ancients, but it's still something that has a lot of value regardless, right?
Yeah.
If I'm a gyrocopter and I hit a certain point, that's where we need to realize that you need to hit at a certain point as gyrocopter. You can't just be like level 7 and have a Helm of the Dominator and brown boots, and take a 6 stack of ancients. This probably will take you forever. That would take you like 5 minutes to do.
If you don't just straight up die like I tend to, like you just get swarmed and like
you got to like kite it out, and there's that whole mechanic, and it can be difficult, but there is a lot of value. But I think you brought up a really good point in that from the other side of things, if you know that there's a natural jungle stack taker or ancient stack taker, is punishing them and knowing when to punish them, because I think it's obvious. It's like some people will try to get Mega Gosu, at our levels, and go, oh, they're gonna stack the jungle. It's like, okay, cool. I'm just gonna go Sentry Ward right now, and it's like minute 0. It's like, well, okay, great. That stopped them for like 3 minutes or whatever. But that's not when they're gonna be taking the stacks. Like they don't give a shit about that. They're not gonna be stacking at that point. So knowing the timings when they'll either be stacking or when they'll be trying to take a stack is equally important.
Oh yeah.
Is knowing that, okay, jungle, AM has hit his Battle Fury. Let's go kill him right now, because right now he's trying to, if you leave him alone for the next 2 minutes, he's gonna get ahead, right?
Yeah, so much of Dota is power levels, item timings, stuff like that, and stack timings, and being able to do a quick survey of the jungle and check like the level of those stacks is no different. Just keeping tabs on a hero and saying, okay, he's going to go take this now. He doesn't have Vlad's up yet. Maybe he has a Morbid. But I don't think he's going to be able to take those very quickly. So if we just keep a tab on that, and as he goes to engage it and he tanks some of that damage, suddenly we can go in and kill him super quick because he's taking all this damage. If you arrive at like the right time or the mid rotates, that's a kill, And so all these things, all these stacks and stuff, and everything we've been talking about farming the jungle efficiently, there's some inherent risk there. And so if you can assess that inherent risk and you can then turn it against them, that becomes very, very powerful. It becomes a tool that you can then, use to take an advantage for yourself as they're trying to take one for themselves. And so it's all very interesting. I mean, it's just like anything in Dota. It's always situational. But I guess now would be a good time to talk about wards. You kind of got into it with the blocking of camps, which I think is really interesting. So many times people will throw that original sentry just right up in the camp, and then it'll, it's like a 5-minute block or something.
Yeah, and it's oh, I actually don't remember the exact time of sentry wards and how long they last. But what I was going to say was that you know, yes, it's a good thing to go ahead and ward their easy camp or their medium camp, wherever they're going to be pulling from. But I've seen a lot of people just immediately sentry, other camps that maybe the enemy carry isn't interested in farming until 5 or 6 minutes later when the ward's gone.
Yeah.
When it has no impact. So it's something that's very easy to overestimate. The jungling power is like, oh, Ursa. Well, they picked an Ursa. Definitely got to just ward their jungle right now. It's like, well, he's probably not gonna take it for a little while, right?
He's not gonna miss it that much, really. Let's
unless
say that
he's
right here.
Unless he's a crazy Ursa like jungle level 1, which is a little cheesy, and yes, it's been done, but yeah, like normally, like okay, let's just assume it's a Ursa or a Legion commander who isn't jungling straight out. It's like they're gonna go to a lane, and you just used a sentry ward on a camp that isn't getting farmed. Like no one cares about that camp right now. But the sentry ward lasts 4 minutes. So.
4 minutes, yeah, that's right. You see this a lot where someone will run up and they'll throw a sentry into the magic bush or whatever that blocks that camp, and then they'll push the fuck out of the lane anyway. And so it's like you almost see like right off the bat that they have no idea what they're doing that for. They're just kind of emulating what they see. And two, like they kind of miss the point of what that ward, I guess that's the same point. They just miss the point of what it should be doing. And they don't understand that it's there so you don't have to push the lane,
Yeah.
and then they have nothing to do. So you let it push back into you kind of. So that's always very interesting to me to see, because you're wasting resources for literally no gain, and then you negate your own resources spent. Or, they just play it out. And sometimes if you have the right equilibrium anyway and the right heroes, it doesn't even matter if that camp's blocked for the first 4 minutes. Like we talked about, like you can't take the damage. You can't really, I don't know. Like what are your views on that? Like you see it a lot. People will just run up and throw an immediate sentry up there and then they'll just kind of forget about it. Like when do you think is a good time to block those camps or that camp?
It depends on like if I'm, let's see, if I'm a, Darkseer, for example, or I'm a hero who naturally wants to push a lane. Maybe I'm a dual lane, like a Jakiro Darkseer or something. I'm something that wants to push the lane. They're not going to be pulling anyways because they're already going to have creeps under their own tower, which is not what they want anyways. So if they tried to pull, like their carry would be eating tons of damage. There'd be so there's really just no point in throwing those sentry wards down there. They could be better served de-warding, the river, de-warding your lane. See if they have a ward back behind, like we talked about, that lane ward. So to me, it just depends on if you want. Do I want to push this wave or do I want to push this lane? Probably don't care about sentrying right now because they won't have time to be pulling because I'll be pushing so hard. Or do I want to keep the creep wave near me? Okay, I'm definitely going to sentry here because otherwise they'll get the pulls off and then I'll have to make some risky plays to contest it just to sap some experience and and that's experience going into the pocket of the support that I don't want. And oftentimes if a lane is not going well, like you and the support will be on even footing in terms of levels. And that's not a situation you want to be at because that means that as the offlaner you can't really get aggressive, right? If I'm level 3 to a support's level 2, then maybe I can go on him. Maybe I can punish him a little bit for overextending. But if I'm level 2 and he's level 4 all of a sudden because he's been able to pull the jungle, pull the creep waves and stack some camps so that the creep wave gets destroyed, then I don't want to go up against it, right? Like maybe that Shadow Shaman doesn't look as tasty as when I'm, Clockwork or something like that.
Yeah, so it does come down to that thought process, that binary of saying, what will it give me to even block this camp early on? Sometimes it's not advantageous honestly. It's not advantageous as like a solo Doom to not be able to slip away unnoticed if the creep equilibrium is granting vision right there. It's
I'm imagining a Doom just like slinking away, like that's like the least stealthy hero in the game.
yeah, I know, like
Like he sticks out like a goddamn red sore thumb.
yeah, Roland style, just looking at like right eye to eye with the creep wave, their enemy creep wave, and just like I'm gonna go over here.
And
for a
all
little
his
bit.
animations look so goofy. It's
Yeah.
just like it looks like he's like a child like swinging a sword for the first time or something. It's always just like, heh, whack. It's
He's
just
like
like
as
it just
nimble
looks
as Fred
silly.
Flintstone, pretty much. Like he's
And
just
his
the
Doom where
doofus.
he does a little hop before he like dooms someone. Is just like points his sword at him like I'm gonna kill you. And there's the Doom. I
Man,
don't know,
evil
it's
sure is
silly.
easy. Like he's
Yeah, it is.
just like boom. That's my Satan spell.
It is true. I think Ursinity or Fafnir came up with this idea. It was like Doom would just. I think Faf did this. It's like Doom just sounds like a hero that like a child made, like just like an infant who's just like, what would be really really cool. I don't know. Let's just like have a big dude who can like his name is Doom and he dooms people and he's just got big flames and swords and stuff and he looks really scary and his name is Doom, the Doombringer. It's like what the fuck? Like you look ridiculous, man.
Doom.
Yeah. What does he do? He dooms people. What does this stuff do? It turns stuff on fire because he's got fire on his back. It's
I like it kind of because it's more people build urns when he's in the game. I like the urn. I like the resurgence of the urn.
wait,
Urn
why would they get earned for him?
Because you just when someone gets doomed, you need the little bit of health
Oh,
to keep people alive, pretty much.
well, the earn charge gets canceled immediately, though.
Oh,
right?
does it?
It's damage over time. Yeah.
What have people been building so much then? It's some heal item.
Well, Glimmer Capes is a big one.
Are you sure it gets canceled? Are you sure about that?
I'm pretty damn sure that earn gets canceled by any kind of like hero damage or
Oh,
tower
I did not
damage.
know that.
Yeah, it's hero or tower damage too.
I've been seeing urns being built a lot more, and I assumed that was the reason, but I suppose I'm wrong.
Earn's just a good goddamn item. I love that item. That's
Maybe,
like one of
maybe it was
those,
the AA.
we'll talk more about that one later.
Because
But
I saw it in Nanyang a lot. Maybe
AA?
it was the A. Does it get canceled on the AA as well? The
I would
AAO?
think, yeah, that's damage over time too.
Yeah, I guess so.
Mech is good. Glimmer Cape is good because it's one reduces the amount of damage taken. The other just Mech doesn't work against AA, but it does work with Doom in that it does give you a burst of heal.
Yeah. I guess I'm wrong. That does make sense. But anyway, I like the urn anyway. But
Yeah, we'll talk more about that one later.
yeah, urn's a good item. But
Good item.
I feel like there isn't enough to deal with Doom in a lot of ways. But I'm glad that they nerfed the Ags a little bit. They do need
Yeah.
some kind of solution there. But
Something we have not talked about. All right, we've
Yeah.
talked about our off laner, positioning, our support, our carry, and mid and carry are kind of have a similar concept where the only difference being as a mid, I can actually stack myself if no one is stacking for me. I can as Radiant, especially as Radiant, it's very easy to do so. It's just you push out your creep wave, you pull the medium camp that's near you. You can even pull the large camp when the wave's really pushed in, and then you can go back to your lane. And then maybe 8 to 10 minute mark or even earlier, you can easily clear those stacks depending on the hero. And that's why they changed Storm Spirit, or that's one of the reasons that it's been theorized that they have changed Storm Spirit to where the mana cost for his Remnant got increased from 70 to 100 was because he could take those jungle stacks too easily, right?
yeah, like he needed the help, I'm sure
Yeah,
that's what they
exactly.
thought. Just having that side camp to run in and just kind of stack those up and then take it. Really
Yeah,
annoying.
and flash farm, and Lena for the same thing. I mean, they reduced her damage a little bit, but that's why they are popular mids. Both at TI5 and now is that these are flash farming heroes, meaning they can instantly kill a triple stack of ancients. They can instantly clear a creep wave, just using their abilities. They have natural ways to clear a creep wave. So I think that's. Maybe it's just me, but that's a pretty self-explanatory thing. It's like I'm mid, I can do stacking, and I want to clear the creep waves. Maybe for different clearing conditions than your carry lane. I don't maybe as Stormsphere I don't really need lifesteal, but I feel like we covered that. But something we haven't covered is just guys who are really good, dedicated junglers. The Chens of the world, the Enchantresses, the Enigmas.
Yeah.
To me, the question is not like, oh, we know they can all jungle, we know they can all do stuff. When do you pick those guys? When is a good composition? You're in your all pick. You're the last pick. When is it time to say, oh shit, yeah, this is a good Enigma game?
You see a lot of utility heroes go into the jungle for a reason. I mean, look at Puppy's Enchantress, which is just like the best in the world. It provides a lot of slow, a bit of a way to divert damage, some stuns with the centaurs. It's mainly guys that can control a lot of different units, have the utility to either lock down, divert damage, or do damage themselves, and they can go in there and not be as vulnerable during the times in the game when they're most vulnerable. Also, it helps that they can step out into lane and kind of assist there. That's why you see them put into that role a lot, is because it kind of becomes like a de facto tri-lane. They can still kind of sit in the jungle and just farm up themselves and then still pull and stuff. You saw Puppy do that a lot with his Enchantress. Just kind of stepping into the lane, throwing out damage when he can, bringing out some heroes to do a stomp to take an easy kill or whatever. And so I feel like utility heroes in that sense are really good, and it can kind of be like a partial tri-lane in some ways that helps out the other two.
Yeah, even and not just tri-lane in the carry lane sense, but I remember going back to TI5 when we saw the AOE 2000 in the TI5 finals. They picked Enigma for him, right? And it's something where, and the commentators were talking about it, in that some Enigmas go for like a mega greedy build, and they'll completely skip their first skill, the stun. I always forget the name of this one. It's what is it?
The stun on Enigma?
Yeah.
Maledict?
Malefice. Malefice.
Yeah,
right.
I
always mix those two up.
Yeah, I always mix those up. It's just they're so similar. Yeah,
and they're both purple heroes, so it's like, come on, guys. So I was thinking, because it's like, Witch Doctor is the Maledict, right?
Yeah, and then that's the AoE magic resistance.
The one that hits really fucking hard late in the game if you get it off on a few people. But yeah, a lot of people will skip Malefice and actually add Midnight Pulse so they can even, kill 2 creep waves at once, or do some even like mega greedy Zai-esque jungle killing. But he leveled Malefice, and Malefice is his stun. And during the rune timings, while he was killing off jungle camps, he would go to the rune and secure the rune for his mid. He wouldn't just go to the carry lane to support. He'd actually move to the mid lane to secure secondary objectives like that, right? He'd go and put a ward down, or he'd go and help secure that rune. And I think that resulted in a first blood or a kill in the game he was in. And it just goes to show you that even when you're a jungler, you're not really like, I'm a jungler, I'm going to sit in the jungle, I'm just going to do my thing, right? There has to be sort of, just like you talked about a couple episodes ago, maybe a few more episodes ago actually, where it was like kill a creep, check the mini map, right? Like as a carry, kill a creep, check the mini map, go through that mental rotation,
and then up to the clock. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and as a jungler, it's kill off the creep wave, make sure you pull out before the timer goes off, check your mid lane, check your carry lane, go back, farm the jungle.
That 4 role becomes a role of like I liked what you said best, which kind of sums it up as the secondary objective role. You're kind of looking to help assist in other ways that the 5 isn't, and you can also do some of the roles of the 5, and which is like anything else. You know what I mean? Anything that they can't do, you're just kind of, you can rotate, you can set up the wards, you can go secure the rune, you can stack. And that's what's great about the jungle, is for a utility role like an Enigma or something like that, it's incredible to do all those different secondary objectives. So
yeah, and those are guys like those jungle guys are really, they need levels. They're very level dependent heroes.
Yeah.
You look at Enchantress, you look at Enigma. Those are heroes who really can farm quickly, and the reason that they can farm quickly is because their abilities require that they do so, right? Maleficus is not a great stun at level 1. It doesn't do much damage. It does like 75 total damage and a quarter of a second of stun for 3 instances. It's like, it really isn't it's not a great lane stun, right? But you look at demonic conversion, you have an ability to instantly take a jungle stack. You have an ability to instantly get some gold in your pocket. So, Enchantress, you got Charm. You have we could go on, but I think everyone gets the idea that those are heroes that require levels, that require some farm to actually be efficient heroes. So
and also have some form of reciprocation when it comes to, and by reciprocation I mean they can keep bringing up like units to use. Like they don't need to just use their health to kind of give out damage. They can reciprocate that health through other units. And so that's kind of interesting. They can't themselves maybe tank much damage, but they can keep bringing up the Eidolons and everything like that. So
yeah, and if you do Jungle Prophet, same thing. Use your treants to cover for you, and you get a Ring of Basilius to give him a little more armor, stuff like that. But as far as like timings and like, or not timings, as far as choices, like, oh, this is a 5th pick that would work if, as a jungler. It's, to me, if I see like a Lich supporting and I see like a pretty self-sufficient off lane and mid, it's really nice, especially at our levels, to just have someone who can jungle and do those things that we're talking about, who can get the extra farm off the map that normally would just kind of lay dormant there the first 7 or 8 minutes, because that just exceeds your net worth gain, right? As a team, you get a much quicker mech if you're Enigma. As a team, you get much quicker ganks if you're Enchantress. As a team, you can push lanes faster as either, or same thing for Nature's Prophet.
And you don't have to so much worry about your lanes being weak from having like that Lich or something. You can have
exactly.
avoid that issue by throwing a hero into the jungle that can kind of block that off in a way. So it's definitely a great strategic choice in that sense.
Yeah, or self-sufficient carries, guys who can be alone for a little bit and do their own thing. I mean, Doom is another. I hate to bring it up. It feels like the Doom podcast, but Doom, if you do like a solo lane Doom, that's just fine. He can do that. If you do a solo lane, I don't know. It depends on how you lane it, but you can do some interesting things and find ways to get these heroes in the positions they probably should best be served. Like Enigma should be a jungler,
Yeah.
Enchantress could be offlane, could be some other things, but a hero we haven't talked about is Sand King. That's a hero that I feel like has gone by the wayside, and maybe we should talk about him in another segment, because I think we're getting long in the tooth with this one. But that's a guy who's kind of gone by the wayside, right? I mean, at TI5 we saw Universe play him a lot, but he is not a very popular pub hero.
And he hasn't been popular since, it feels like, in pro play anyway.
Yeah. Why do you think that is? Because he hasn't been nerfed or anything.
Where
he got
where
buffed.
do you lane him? I guess he soaks up a ton of farm, even in the jungle, and for what gain that another hero can't really give out. I mean, his ult is really, really great, but it requires some setup. The stun's good, but I think there's a lot of risk when it comes to his ult, and that's what it comes down to: is can you land it quick? The wind up on it is so big that you can kind of just pick like a Doom or something. I hate to say it again, or anything like that, and you just see him start to do that cast animation, and then you just cancel it instantly. The wind up's kind of punishing because it's like a 5-second channel time or something, isn't it? Maybe 3 seconds.
I think it's like 3 seconds. I want to say
it's big,
Yeah, it is 2 seconds. Actually, 2 seconds. That's
wow!
Not as bad as I thought.
Has that been lowered? Because it feels like it's been longer in the past.
It does. I will say, when you're Sand King, it feels like days.
Yeah, seconds.
It feels like, oh my god! It just feels like the world is like it's already been a week, and you're still casting that thing.
He's not quite solo offlane material, because I feel like naturally Sandstorm pushes the lane. So if you're getting tanked out and you need to instantly cast the Sandstorm, you do it right there, and it pushes the lane out.
Yeah.
And I don't know. He's a good hero. He's got a lot of great stuff, but all of his abilities, like, they push the lane, like even Caustic Finale, like you kill one creep, it pushes the lane.
It's a good harass mechanism now. That's what they increase the damage for, and I think they even increase the slow for. It's a really good. I honestly think he should be like a dual lane offlaner. I think that might be the best
Yeah.
spot for him. Is that you pick him and maybe another annoying ranged hero like a Jakiro or something like that that kind of just annoys the shit out of the enemy carry and pushes him back and forces him to get a lot of regen stuff like that. But yeah, maybe him like level 1 jungle Sand King is not a thing you need. Level 2 or 3, I think level 3 is what you need the most. I'm not a Sand King picker, so I won't say. But yeah, he's a guy who requires a Blink Dagger to be really effective on the map, whereas an Enigma can more safely secure things, and doesn't necessarily require that to be effective. So
And he just he needs a lot of farm, like you said, but it's just interesting because I mean, he doesn't even farm that quick, really. I mean, like you can sandstorm a couple camps, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel like he belongs perfectly in the jungle, even though he can farm it. He doesn't make that good a use of the farm, and he's not a solo off lane. So it's just like, where do you lane him? I feel
yeah,
like
it's just
kind
like
of the problem with
where
him.
where does he go?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting.
But that kind of wraps up our discussion on the jungle pretty well, I think. Ward positions, I mean, you want to have a ward up if you're farming the jungle, guys. Just you have the tower knocked out, throw up a ward in the jungle, a defensive ward towards the lane. You want to see people coming in. We talked a bit about those positionings, and you can always find other resources online. So
Yeah, and we'll link those. I think we have hitbox like the Radiant small box and all camps and stacking timings and things like that we can link in the show notes for this as well. But you're right, it is time to move on to
the freaky deaky item build, the odd item build, and we get to even talk about the earn more. So you want to lead us into that? A hero you play more than I, so I feel like you would be pretty good at that.
Yeah, sure. I have been playing a lot of Queen of Pain lately, and I've been having a lot of fun with it, I will say. And I have not been laning her in the traditional sense. I know that she's a mid, and she's gone mid typically a lot of the time, but I've enjoyed playing her in the offlane role, preferably in a dual offlane role, but if not, if you get a solo offlane against, say, a pretty weak dual lane, you can actually punish enemy carries pretty damn hard. Her Shadow Strike is obscenely good at level 1. Like, it's such a good level 1 ability. It does so much damage. And it's just really annoying to deal with. It's got a slow, it's got a damage over time, it's got a little bit of initial damage. It's just super good. And so I've been enjoying her in the offlane. And, as an offlaner, you're not going to get as much farm as you would in the carry lane. But if you're picking Queen of Pain and you feel like you can get some amount of farm, or should I say, if you feel like you're in the offlane and you can get some amount of farm, Queen of Pain actually might work out. It's been working out for me at my level. So I build on her. I want to be building the standard stuff like power treads, a bottle if you can get it, a magic wand, but then also an urn. I've been enjoying trying out urn on her. Since she's such an active hero and always past level 7 or 8 wants to go in and get some kills early on, and even before that in the lane you have kill potential. With with your Scream of Pain leveled up, it's like 225 damage on a 7-second cooldown at level 5. Like, that's really good. That's really, like, you can, if you catch someone out of position, you throw a Shadow Strike on them, you get a Scream of Pain. That's easily like 400 magic damage.
And then if you have
combined.
the urn, if you even have the urn, maybe you don't have it that early, but maybe you do. It gives you that much extra chase if you've been involved in any team fights and you have those charges.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
And you have those urn charges. And urn's just such a good general, like a good pub item because it just keeps everyone topped off on health. It doesn't discourage them from doing this like, oh, we took down 2 and we only lost 1. I don't want to push. I'm at 60% HP, stuff like that. It's like, fuck you, eat my urn charge. Let's go do this.
Shadow
Tier
blasted
2.
in the face. Like,
Yeah,
there you
tier
go.
2, you punk bitch. We're taking it. Get in on this. Get in on the ground floor before it's too late. So,
It's great for the pub type style of Queen. And she was most picked, most banned at Nanya. Did you see that?
I saw that too.
So that's interesting to see. I mean, she's a really good hero right now, pro level and at our level.
I actually, you mentioned pro level because and it reminds me. I think I got this build from it was I want to say a few weeks ago, maybe even a couple months ago. I remember seeing it done by Admiral Bulldog. He went Urn, and then the next item is Yule's Scepter. You get Urn Yule's Scepter on her because this is again assuming you're getting very like mediocre farm, right? You're still in the off lane. You're not going to have some camps stacked up for you. You're not going to be killing. You're not going on a rampage anytime soon. This is just like your standard middle of the road farm that you get on an off lane. Obviously, the item build changes if you're not just getting the standard stuff, standard farm. But Yule Scepter is really good on her because she has an escape mechanism, but she doesn't have a way to deal with someone who silences her or someone who tries to, throw a stun at her. She doesn't have a lot of easy escapes if she's locked down once, because then the people can kind of chain stun with her.
Yeah.
You have your blink, but if you blink in and you get caught out, I mean, at the early levels, it's a 15-second cooldown at level 1, and people don't normally get extra levels in it until levels 8, 9, 10, stuff like that. So having a Yule Scepter as a defensive mechanism is really nice. Having it as an offensive mechanism because, again, she doesn't have a stun, so people may just see you blink in, blink strike, or shadow strike, and they'll just TP out immediately, right? Because maybe you have just enough, or you don't have enough, burst damage to take them down from 100 to 0. So they'll TP out, you're like, fuck you, Yule Scepter, cancel TP, stuff like that, and then it gives her the other utility stuff that Yule Scepter grants, like, move speed. The mana regen is actually really nice. It's a very underestimated thing on her. She blows through mana like, God, she is just a mana addict. She's she's a mana crack whore. Like she just can't handle herself. She can't get enough of it. Like she uses her combo that's like, at level 1, Sonic Wave is 250 mana, which is a ton of mana.
That's definitely how she's punished, is the mana management. She's like the new Storm or something, but in ways more damaging, more mobile. Maybe less mobile, but more damaging, definitely in ways.
I just calculated if you use your Blink, Scream of Pain, Sonic Wave, that's like 410 mana used, which is a lot. It's just a lot of mana.
That movement speed on the Yules has got to help too, and just having that time up in the air if you just need a little bit more time until you can blink out again, and also taking off those negative effects is just great.
Yeah.
I like it. I like the Urn and the Yules on her because it's way multi-situational. It leaves you open to a lot of different situations, both offensive and defensive. So it's a well-rounded build, and definitely goofy, so it's our good strange item build of the week. It's a good choice.
Yeah, and I totally miscalculated. I was looking at Scream of Pain level 1. It's even more mana intensive. It's like 400. It's almost 450 mana. So having that Yule Scepter is just really nice to keep the mana regen up. It gives you a little extra intelligence. So yeah, I'm enjoying playing her in that lane. So I hope other people try it out and let us know how you feel. Right?
Yeah, I'm sure they can. They can tweet us at .pshow or anywhere else. But I think I'm going to close out the show after making a few notes here. We're going to be working on kind of the format of our show. We were going to go into some pro-related news, but we've kind of gone over our time slot here, so we're going to work on that. And we will be doing some type of pro coverage, how it relates to our show anyway. It's not going to be like going over the brackets or anything, or personal player news or anything like that, but more of
or caster drama. We will not be doing any caster drama. We're not doing any sound quality drama.
Exactly. It's not going to be any of that. It's not going to be so much relate to the tournament as it's going to relate to the games played at the tournament. And with the majors coming up, we really wanted to be able to kind of analyze that in this forum. But we'll be working on that in the next couple of weeks. For now, we're not going to be doing a Filthy Lane combo. We're kind of giving that over to Theory Crafting Thursday, Ursi, and his new co-host Proud Show, because that's their motif. They're kind of to the level that's higher than us, so they're able to have a better discussion there, and it felt like we weren't really able to provide the analysis that we wanted for it. It was kind of just an add-on when we really want to be doing stuff like this, which is spending a whole hour talking about individual concepts. So that's something that's going to be kind of go over to them, and they'll do what they want on their show when it comes to their combos or whatever they're trying out. So go over to that show for that. You have anything to add, Blue?
Yeah, just that they do an excellent job of it, and they spend a dedicated amount of time talking about the show. So we were like, no, you just take it, guys, take it and run with it. Like that's like the centerpiece of the show for them is talking about a lane combo
And
and
it is a good
theorizing
idea.
around it. So
It's a good
and,
idea, but it needs a full show, I think. It can't
yeah,
just be tacked on. So definitely go over to Theory Crafting Thursdays for that. They're a great show. They're getting off the ground. Well, they've been off the ground for a long time, and a couple of good guys there. So go check that out. Another bit of news is, I'm sure if you even know any of the .p news at all, we have a new boss, and that's Easy Marcuse. Eric Marcuse. He's a longtime contributor to the community, and he kind of helped the entire thing get off the ground. So we'd like to welcome him back. Welcome back, man. It's good to have you back
yeah.
in the fray.
Is he easy turkeysy still, or is he easy something? Is he sleazy easy now because he's all about selling out?
It changes every goddamn day. He's he's the producer that is trying to halter our creative growth, man. No, I'm joking. Like that's just my hippie coming out.
I feel like he's like trying to model himself after like the sleazy, like radio executive or something that was out of like like Howard Stern's Private Parts or something. Like that's what he's shooting for,
Yeah, I don't know what his name changes every day. Yeah. But it's good to have you back. It's good to have him back to the community, and give him a warm welcome back if you see him.
Yeah. Round of applause for Easy.
Yeah. Silent applause. Yeah, okay. Also, well, I guess we can just go into the plugs because we are running long. You can reach us at .p show, tweet at us show ideas, .p_show. Sorry about that. I always do that. Tweet at us, let us know what you liked, what didn't, what worked, what didn't. Also, tweet at us show ideas. Tweet at us to talk. We respond to most everything. Tell us, whatever you want. It's there as a platform for engagement.
What's your Twitter, pal?
You can reach me at .p_Wazoo. I'm on there every day, so I'd love to hear from you guys. What about you, Blue?
You find me at Mr. Blue 22. I'm on Twitter, and check out the YouTube channel .ptv1. We will be adding some fun content over the weekend. I had a quite the experience with the Dillanoid. I did some drunk Dota 2 Pudge calibration games. My poor rip my potential MMR. This was solo queue too. This made it even worse. So I made it 6 beers in, and Dillanoid was a merciful man, and he let me go. I went 3-3 as Pudge, but it was an interesting experiment because apparently like they really do take KDA into account. Because I was winning I went 3-3, right? So I thought I'd be at the same calibration I was, but it doesn't look like it's going to be where I thought it would be. I started at like 3.6K and then lost the first 2 games and moved right down to 3.1. It's like, oh, this hurts. It hurts my soul.
Party MMR, 3.6K. Solo MMR, 1.2K.
That's right.
Pudge, man.
Yeah, that's right. Party solo MMR Pudge.
Yeah, it's just it'll just be the troll face, the Pudge emoticon.
Yeah.
Your MMR.
Yeah,
but that's funny. Go check out that content. I know I will. That sounds hilarious.
So yeah, look forward to that. And I got nothing else.
All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. We'll be going back we'll be going back to kind of our same show, booking some interviews and going from there. So thanks for tuning in. Stay hard, stay classy, my friends.